So believe it or not, I think one of the unfortunate realities in dating is that men and women have lost the art of flirting, all right? A lot of people do not know how to effectively flirt. Now, I think a big reason is because people are more guarded now. There's more pride. There's more fear of rejection at a higher level than it used to be. Just various things has contributed to people being more conscious. I think with men, due to the times being a little bit more sensitive to how men talk to women, approach women compared to once upon a time, men have fallen back from it. All that has led to confusion or a greater struggle to actually realize when someone is flirting with you, all right? And therefore creating missed opportunities because people aren't sure if this is a sign to move forward. So I figure, well, let's help clear some of this up, at least when it comes to the men flirting with you. Now, if you've watched some of my old videos, you know I've said many times before, I think women really need help when it comes to flirting, and I'm gonna do a video on that at some point. But I wanna break down some of the signs that the man is flirting with you so that you can be aware of what's going on, and then now you'll know how to react if you want things to move forward. So the first sign that a man is secretly flirting with you is that he's responding to your IG stories. All right, so I figured, listen, we're in the world of social media and Instagram and all this stuff, and some of you may not even have or use an Instagram, so this one may not apply to you. But for those of you who are familiar, you know, on Instagram and on some of these other platforms, you can post what they call stories. And one of the key ways, or one of the common ways now men flirt, is by responding to your story. That response could be a statement. That response could be just sending you a heart eyes. These are emojis I'm talking about for those who may not be aware. All right. Just any kind of response. It is typically going to be because he's trying to flirt. And here's the reason why replying to IG stories, some of the reasons why it has become so popular. It is one of the most simple and less invasive ways of trying to get the woman's attention, all right? So essentially, sliding in the DMs, well, listen, even though that essentially is the same as sliding in the DMs, but just directly sending a message, a lot of times people's messages don't get read, all right? Men get overlooked. Some of you may have tons of messages in your direct messaging box, right? And so therefore, a lot of men haven't seen much success. So it makes it easier to just say, okay, let me respond to a story, something that a lot of people are paying attention to. Now, if you are a woman and a man that you find in any way interesting or attractive responds to your story, you need to make sure you respond back, okay? Like, don't just look at the story and then wait to see what his next move is. Because what the man is hoping is that you will give him some sign, some kind of green light that says proceed. And all he needs to proceed is at least some kind of response. Now, some people, some women will just like, you can like the fact that they respond to your story. You can just like that message, right? And that's cool. That can still help progress things, but it's not as direct, it's not as clear to a man that you want him or you are open for him saying more. So actually giving a response, saying thank you, smiling back, whatever the case may be, gives a better chance that he's gonna think, okay, maybe I can move forward here. So it is one of those common things, and beyond stories, just Instagram in general. Now, I have to say this before I move on to the next point. This is one of the big reasons why I'm always telling people and women, take your pages off of private, okay? Because and let me be clear, because I understand some of you may have your pages on private for business reasons and things of that nature. But if you want to increase your chances of being able to meet someone, take your page off of private. I think people are underestimating how many individuals may stumble across your page, want to possibly say something, but your page is private, so they leave it alone. All right. And when I say they want to possibly say something, they may see your avatar, your main profile photo, and think, oh, she's attractive. So they want to go on the page and see if they can gather more information or get more clarity on, the woman you are. And when it's private, most people don't want to have to follow just to finally get to see more. Because the messed up thing is, if the person follows, doesn't like what they see on the page, now they either got to unfollow you, which may seem rude, okay? Or they're stuck following someone they're no longer interested in. So all that to say, consider taking your page off of private. I'm telling you, it will or it can open the doors to more opportunities. All right, so let's move things along. A second secret sign that a man is flirting with you, and we're gonna consider that this is a situation where he has an opportunity to engage with you. So this is in person most of the time, but it can happen online as well. And that second sign is he keeps finding ways to create conversation. All right. So whether that be in person or online, when a man is always trying to stir up conversation with you, he's hoping that he can finally get an opening that says move forward. So he's hoping in casual conversation that there will then be something said, something happens that will say to him, okay, I can really shoot my shot now. Now, I don't want to rule out the possibility that yes, sometimes a man may be making constant conversation because he's a friendly person. That can happen. So nothing is 100%. But the reality is that in most cases, men aren't trying to repeatedly make conversation with a woman they don't find attractive, they don't have some level of interest in, okay? And again, it's one of those indirect flirting attempts. Because as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, due to people being so afraid of rejection and not wanting to come off too strong, or as some people would say, too thirsty, most people take very indirect ways of trying to flirt or trying to open the door to more. And so you have to be mindful of that. So when you start to notice that a man is continuously making that attempt, again, that's the cue for you to say to yourself, okay, if I want this man to proceed and really shoot his shot, if I am interested or, I'm open to seeing where this can go, I have to give him something to work with at that point. Don't just keep entertaining the conversation, because what I've seen happen many times is you'll have this scenario where the guy keeps trying to stir up conversation. The woman entertains the conversation. So to her, it's like, well, I'm giving him the green light by talking to him. But in reality, he doesn't know that's a green light, because that might just be you being friendly as far as he's concerned. That's not clear enough, okay? So a quick thing that you can use, or a quick thing you can do, is when you're having those conversations, give a compliment. Simple as that. A compliment will typically, and let me be more specific, a physical compliment. Now, I'm not saying sexual, don't get it wrong, all right? But something about the physical appearance, because a compliment on physical appearance can communicate attraction. And that's what that man needs to feel confident moving forward, that you are attracted to him. You see, if you say something like, oh, you're such a smart guy, that doesn't really say to a man, oh, she's interested. You know what I'm saying? You can say that to anyone. But if you say things like, oh, you look really good today, or you look really good in that, or whatever the case may be, that leans more on, okay, maybe she does find me attractive. So, all right, let me see what I can do with this. So just always consider, all right, when you see it happening and you aren't interested, what can you do to now let him know you're open to entertaining more from him? All right, so now the third secret sign a man is flirting with you is when he's constantly nervous or flustered around you. So whether that be the guy who is constantly creating conversation, or let's just say it's a coworker, right? And whenever you're around this coworker, all of a sudden he gets really shy. You know, he's fumbling his words. And this is especially true when this is not his common behavior, which I'll talk a little bit more about a little later on this list. But when you start to see a deviation, and especially when it's nervousness and being flustered, that is a very strong sign that he's attracted to you. And so he may not be flirting at the moment, so to speak, because he's trying to gather himself, but it does show there is an interest there, okay? And sometimes it is happening when he's trying to flirt, because the attempt to flirt makes him nervous, makes him a little scared. Now he's concerned about, is she gonna reject me? How's she gonna respond to this? And so now this is one of those things where I can't tell you as a woman, like, you need to go out your way to make him feel less nervous. That's really on him to get himself together, so to speak, and be more confident in his approach. However, I will continue to say that you again have to open the door more. You again have to, if you are interested. If you're not, then none of this matters, right? But if you are interested and you notice that, again, just show that you have mutual interests, you know? And I'm gonna throw this out there. I am not saying you need to do this. This is totally up to you. I do think in a scenario like this, if you're a woman who's willing to take it a little further yourself, this is where you may say, all right, let me just go ahead and give him my number and see what he wants to do with it. Now, I know some of y'all don't like that, are already shaking your head like, we don't do that over here. I get it, I understand, but I do think that there's nothing wrong with that. There is a study that shows, I wish I would have read it before I did this video, but I recall the study essentially saying women who are willing to approach men, and please do not confuse approaching with pursuing. Now, I know we might just be playing with words here, but let me just tell you how I look at it. To me, there's nothing wrong with a woman presenting herself to a man. There's nothing wrong with that woman presenting her interest to that man. There's nothing wrong with that woman, in this instance, giving a man her number. I would not tell a woman to ask a man for his number, but giving it to him and saying, all right, if you're interested, the ball's in your court now. Because now it still puts it on him to have to pursue. The pursue is the ongoing. This is just the introduction. So to me, a woman being willing to handle the introduction, nothing wrong with that. Now, of course, we have to understand that in doing that, doesn't guarantee you're going to get a phone call, doesn't guarantee it's going to happen, but I have seen situations, and let's use work again, where women have had crushes at work and they don't know if the guy's interested. And literally it can go on for months, even years, where everyone's afraid to say something. No one's willing to step past the line. So to me, in a situation like that, giving the number would be a way to bring this to a resolution. It would be like, okay, at least by giving him your number, we can put this to rest. Either he's gonna call and be interested, or he's not. That's better than you dwelling on it the whole time, wondering, hoping, what if, when. Now, of course, if you feel spiritually led to do something different or not do anything at all, I'm not gonna argue against that. But aside from that, I do think that there's gonna be scenarios where it would give you more peace if you just said, all right, let me just do what I got to do, and now it's on him. So going back to the whole pursuing versus approaching, again, I don't want this ongoing pursuit where you have to be the one calling him, initiating, asking him to go out, all this type of things. He has to take some initiative, but you taking that first step, nothing wrong with that. Actually, before I move on to the next point, so consider this. Now, I've heard some other, because I don't want to take credit for making this point. My videographer just reminded me, but I've also heard other dating coaches like Matthew Hussey mentioned it before, where back in the days, women used to use the whole handkerchief trick, all right? Where a man passes by, they drop the handkerchief, and that would be their signal to the man. So to me, that's what we're talking about as far as giving the number. It's like you are initiating, you are showing the clear sign that, hey, here is interest, here's your opportunity to do something with it. Now, listen, if you want to drop a handkerchief, that's cool, but I don't think handkerchiefs work anymore in today's age. I don't think it's going to be the same as it used to be. So that's why I think we've kind of evolved to a point where, all right, let's just get right to it. Hey, if you're interested, give me a call. We'll see where this goes. And that's it. And you just kind of move on from there. And if it happens, great. And if it doesn't, so be it. That means there's bigger and better things waiting for you. All right, so let's keep this going. So the fourth secret sign that he's flirting with you is that he's giving you compliments. So we talked about earlier you complimenting a man to let him know you are interested. Well, a man complimenting you works the same way. Something just hit my spirit, so I have to speak on this. I've come across a lot of women who have gotten turned off, or they're bothered by the idea of a man wanting to talk to them because of how they look, because of the physical attraction. I literally had a client one time tell me, anytime a man approaches her, like she could be in the mall and men are always approaching her. If a man approaches her and she knows it's because of how she physically looks, she won't talk to him. Now, I had to say to her, I said, well, this is very counterproductive, because listen, how else is that man supposed to know he's interested? Now, I know a lot of women, they feel like, well, I don't want the man to want me because of how I look. I want him to want me because of who I am. Granted, cool, but he can't see who you are. He can only see how you look first and then learn who you are. And the reality is that looks in most cases does not keep a man there, at least when it comes to a serious relationship, serious, genuine interest. Looks open the door. Your character will decide if they stay, okay? So you should not try to hide yourself. You should not, I don't want you to take issue with a man being attracted to you, and that's why he comes to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Because again, men are very physical beings, physical creatures. And yes, beauty is important to us. Attraction is important to us, as it is for many women as well. I think we have to, for those of you who struggle with that, you got to start looking at it a different way, because that also happens online. It reminds me of one time where someone tried to slide in my, they did slide in my DMs, okay? And they did a double negative. They had their page on private, and they didn't have a real picture in their profile picture. It was like a cartoon character or something like that. And they tried to ask me out to go out to dinner or to, I forgot, exchange number. It was something. And I'm thinking in my head, like, are you crazy? No, I can't even see who you are. But the women start going on about like, oh, that's, you know, you men and you know, the way you guys are so hung up on how someone looks. And I'm like, are you, really? Like, but now when I look back and hearing my client and hearing it from multiple other women, I understand, I don't agree with, but I understand how some women have become so jaded by the idea of, I don't want attention because of how I look. So now they shut that down in many ways. Something else hit my spirit. This is not really about the video, but I have to say it right now. Some women have gotten so jaded and so disgusted by the attention that they get that they've now, I'm trying to use my words wisely, they've tried to find ways to diminish their presentation to diminish the attention. All right. And for many women, it started from sexual abuse when they were younger. And I've had different scenarios. I've had some women, and I'm telling you, these are their words. Some women purposely put on excess amount of weight because they felt like that was protection from the attention. All right. It would deter more men from coming to them. Others have taken other avenues to diminish it. And so I understand the struggle for those who have gone through that level of trauma. But I want to encourage everyone, if your struggle with embracing how you present yourself, and a man being attracted to that, do the work to heal. You know what I'm saying? Address those past issues. Running from it does not help you. And putting yourself out there in a way that diminishes the attention you would get at your, let's say, at your potential physically, it's closing the door on many other good opportunities. All right? I want you to live your life to the fullest. I want you to be happy. I want you to be in a healthy place, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically. So if your struggle stems from deeper rooted trauma, experiences, disappointments, please, please, please do the healing process. So you know what? Check out Love After Heartbreak. You can click the link in my description or in the comments section. It's a book I wrote for men and for women, and it gives you the step-by-step on how to heal. So even if you can't go to a coach or a counselor to go through this process, the book will help you immensely if you do exactly the steps that are laid out in it. So again, you can go to loveafterheartbreak.com. All right, so now we're on the 5th secret way a man showing you that he is flirting with you is when he is constantly trying to impress you. All right. Now, the funny thing or the crazy thing or the unfortunate thing is there's a lot of men who go out of their way to try to brag about themselves, trying to impress you. And though it may be their attempt to flirt and get your attention, I know for a lot of women it can be a turnoff. It's not the most effective tool when it comes to flirting. However, we're not discussing what works. We're discussing what it means. And so, yes, when he's trying to tell you about this business he's doing and this money he's making and this thing he accomplished and this weight he benched in the weight room or whatever the case may be, right? That's to impress you. And the reality is that when a man has interest in a woman, he wants her to look upon him with favor. He wants her to view him in high regard. And so he uses these things to achieve that. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think that going back to the guy who may mishandle that and be bragging in a way that kind of can be a turnoff. I think, we sometimes, and I'm just going to say what I'm feeling right at the moment. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just going to express what's weighing on me at this very moment. I think sometimes we have to give grace, all right? And I feel we've all done it. We've all maybe saw something that we didn't like and it didn't give no opportunity to correct it, right? And we automatically assume, let's say in this scenario, a man bragging too much is, well, he's arrogant. You don't want a guy like that. But he may just be nervous. He may just be overplaying his hand. He may just not understand how to properly present his interest. So I say all that to say, if you were interested in him, if you found him attractive, and he does that, consider, again, I'm not saying I'm right on this one, I'm just telling you what I'm feeling, but consider still moving the conversation forward, right? And maybe even going out on a date, or if it gets to that point, and then seeing if this kind of behavior continues, okay? If it does, and it's truly just his character, then okay, nothing we can do about it. But I think there's a lot of scenarios where, that initial over bragging would stop once he actually got your attention, because that's all he was really doing it for. It wasn't because that's who he actually is, all right? Now, again, you a grown woman, you ain't got to entertain any man you don't want to entertain, and if to you that's just a deal breaker, so be it. I just had to throw it out there for you to consider, all right? But let's keep it going. All right, so now we're on number 6, and the 6th secret sign he's flirting with you. And this, to me, is a big one. He constantly remembers the little things, okay? In all my years of doing this, I've sat down with tons of people, tons of couples, married couples, in the dating phase, whatever. One of the common things, one of the common frustrations women have is a man's struggle or inability to pay attention to detail, to remember the little things, to remember specific dates and things of that nature, all right? Typically, when you hear about someone in the relationship forgot the anniversary, typically, not always, typically it's the man, all right? When it's forgot this special date, typically it's the man. As men, we are not as in tune, we are not as sharp, all right, as a woman is when it comes to remembering the details. But that's why when a man shows that, it will typically mean he has interest, and this is a subtle or maybe not so subtle way of him flirting, because he's making a really strong effort in most cases to remember those things. Like I've seen situations where a man barely remembers anyone's birthday, right? Forget his own family's birthday. But this one woman he's really into never forgets it. Never forgets her birthday. Any day that's important to this woman, he remembers, but he forgets everything else about everyone else. Okay? Because he is more emotionally invested. He's making a greater effort because he wants to show her. This kind of ties into trying to impress you. He wants to show that he remembers those things. He's basically conveying to you, you are important to me. And what's important to you is important to me. All right? And hoping that that will gain some favor in your eyes and be able to open a door to potentially more in that situation, in that potential relationship. And I think, I feel the need to say this, when a man does that. Now, when we're talking about a man you don't know, or you work with, your friends, whatever, if you're not interested, we're not even going to entertain that dynamic right now. If you are interested, or if you are in a relationship with a man who remembers the little things, I implore you to always show appreciation in those moments. All right? Do not view it as, well, I remember those, so of course he should. Like, don't diminish the value of it. Understand that for most guys, he's really trying to show you he cares. All right? And if you downplay or dismiss it, well, eventually he'll stop paying attention to little things. Because if he feels like this holds no value to you, this doesn't put me in a positive light, well then why am I going to try to keep remembering every little thing? But when you show him that you love that and you appreciate that and you are rewarding him with your love and positive energy in return and showing him or doing things that's important to him, it will fuel him to continue to pay attention to those small details when it comes to you. All right, so now we're at number 7. And the 7th sign, secret sign that he's flirting with you, is when he's poking and prodding, trying to find out your relationship status. All right. So again, this can be done in indirect and direct ways. All right. You may say something like, yeah, I went out somewhere the other night. Oh, who'd you go out with? Now, I don't want to say that question automatically means the man is trying to find out if you got a boyfriend. But what I'm saying is you're going to notice it in multiple ways. They're going to be trying to figure out, okay, is she single? Is she available? If he's not asking you, he might be asking friends of yours, or because these type of situations happen at work a lot, he might be asking coworkers. But one way or another, he's fishing around trying to get information. All right? Because the reality is that a lot of times the man does not know if you are single. And it reminds me of a scenario where there was a woman who, she was a good friend of mine, and we were talking one day, and she said, you know, she really wants a relationship. And I was like, yo, I'm surprised that you're saying that. You seem like you're living the single life, and you're happy living the single life. Now, mind you, the way that people portray things, this is before social media was really big. But with social media today, you got to be mindful of what you're portraying online, because if you portray this, I love my single life, I don't need any man, well, that's going to make certain men a lot more hesitant to approach you and shoot their shot, so to speak. As what happened to my friend, because I said, oh, I'm surprised. I thought you were living up this single life. And she said, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to enjoy myself, but I don't want to be single. And it turned out, she said, it's funny that you say that, because she ran into a guy who told her, I wanted to talk to you, but it looked like you weren't interested in, dating or anything like that. So I just left you alone. And she didn't realize what she was giving off that was presenting herself in that way. So be mindful of that, all right? Sometimes people are just making bad assumptions, but just ask yourself, if there's any areas or places where I'm presenting a certain energy, am I presenting an energy that is open to talking to someone, open to relationships, things of that nature? I'm just going to give you one quick example before we finish this point. If you're at work, and I keep using work, but if you're at work and it's a group of y'all and you're always talking bad about men, well, if I'm a man and I have any interest, I'm going to be thinking, nah, let me just leave that alone, right? Because that's going to make you look like you're either not willing to, you're not receptive to men right now, you're not interested in relationship, and that's going to discourage the guy who's trying to respect your space. Now, the man who just wants to sleep with you, a lot of these things won't matter to him because he's just focused on getting what he wants to get. But for the guy who actually has genuine interest in a potential relationship, he will be more sensitive to what you are presenting and what energy that you're giving off. So you just want to be mindful of that if you are or you do desire a relationship. All right, so those were 7 secret signs, but I'm going to give you one more as a bonus, all right? And the bonus sign that he is flirting with you is when he's always offering up his assistance. So again, this is in line with wanting to impress you, wanting to show you that you're important to him, or what's important to you is important to him. And when a man is constantly offering up his assistance, that is typically a sign of interest, and it is flirting. Now, what's coming to mind in this scenario is, for some of y'all ain't gonna like this, but I gotta say it. For some of y'all, that's your male friend. All right, I had to say it. Some of y'all have that male friend, and maybe you don't have any interest in him. Maybe you do. I don't know. But I know that there are some of those guys that you call friend who are always there for you. And listen, and understand, there's a difference between I'm your boy and when you call on me and need me, I got you. Because I'm very reliable as a friend. Anyone who I'm friends with, female friends, they call me and I'm available. I got them. I'm going to do what I can. That's how I roll, right? But when I'm always offering, when I'm going out of my way, when I am interjecting myself constantly in assisting you, that is usually a sign of interest. I'm going to make this story real quick. There was a woman I know, she was cool with this guy. She actually liked the guy, but she swore the guy did not like her. And to her defense, she tried to flirt and put something out there, but he didn't really jump on it for whatever reason. I think he was scared. Either way, as time went on, he was always offering to help. He was always trying to come to her rescue, always being there. And I'm thinking nah, this is not normal friend behavior. This is a man who likes you. But she was like, no. Fast forward, ends up in a relationship. I'm not even going to give the whole story because there's reasons I won't give the whole story, but I'm just going to say it turned out he liked her. He ended up confessing his feelings, all right? So I'm telling you, usually when that man is making that much of an effort, that's what it means. And so with that said, as a woman, if you have male friends like that, and you got to be honest with yourself, you know deep inside they like you, and they are holding on to hope that an opportunity will one day exist, you're going to have to consider walking away from that friendship at some point. I know you don't want to hear that, but here's the reason why. One, it's not your fault that he's hanging around on hope and waiting for an opportunity, right? Excuse me. But allowing that situation to go on, at the very least, if you're going to continue to be friends, there needs to be more boundaries. There needs to be a level of separation. It can't be this everyday talk, everyday engaging, because you're asking for trouble. And it's not just trouble in the sense of his feelings escalating even more and that making things complicated. It's also if a man comes into your life, all right, and sees this male friend who acts like this and starts to pick up on something, that can create issues. And some of you as ladies, you know what I'm talking about because it happened to you on the flip side, where the man had this female friend that he says, just my friend, but you can sense that this woman has interest. And now that you're in his life, this woman is becoming a bigger problem. It's making you uncomfortable. And you know her intentions aren't purely platonic. So, going back to you and your friend, you got to consider the ramifications of that dynamic, okay? And it's a tough decision to have to make. But again, maybe it's not just walk away, but at the very least, create some boundaries. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to help you get to the relationship that you truly belong in or achieve the life that you want to live and be happy and be blessed and receive all the great things God has for you. You deserve a man who desires to give you the commitment that you truly deserve. And believe it or not, there are tons of men, yes, tons, that are willing and prepared to get into serious relationships. And there's a man out there for you that is willing to pour into you and fulfill your needs and desires. But I understand that for you and for many that will watch this video, that you're at a place that maybe you're jaded, that you question the seriousness of men out there, their willingness to commit in a relationship. And I think that social media and the stories that you're hearing from family and friends I have to use the word, contaminated your mind into thinking this is not out there, this does not exist, that maybe you're hoping for something that will not come about. But I want you to remove those negative thoughts and understand that there are so many men. Literally today, as I was walking back from the gym, I got approached from a man. Let me just tell you, it's very funny that as much as my following is majority women, I get approached by way more men complimenting me and telling me how much they watch my videos and enjoy it. So another thing for you to realize, a lot of you think men aren't watching and listening and learning. They are. They're just quiet about it online. But in real life, they are acknowledging me and telling me how much they're learning and how much it's helping them in relationships or in dating. But anyways, the guy today was asking, how can he meet more serious women? I had to laugh because we always hear about it's the men who don't want to be serious, but in reality, there's a lot of men dealing with the same issue, all right? And they want something more. But I digress because I want to get to the point of this video, and that's about signs that he wants to commit to you, all right? So let's get to it. The first one is he will not run from a title. So I had to discuss this because I see too many situations where women are dating men desiring something serious. So let me make clear, if you are a woman who does not mind being casual, that's a whole different story. And please let me just say, be honest with yourself about that desire for being casual or willingness to be casual. Are you doing it because you don't have hope for better? Are you doing it because you don't think you can get better? Or are you doing it because that's what you truly desire and what makes you happy? Because if it doesn't, you need to address that and be true to yourself about what you're really looking for, because you will shoot yourself in the foot if you allow yourself to believe you're okay with being casual when that's not really your thing. But the thing is that I see so many women dating these men who are vague with their intentions, vague with putting a title on the situation, so to speak, and women convincing themselves that he just needs more time, or maybe he'll come around to it. No, All right. And I don't want to say no as in no man could just need some more time. Yeah, depending on how long you guys have been talking. However, in most cases, if a man is someone who is serious and desires to commit to you, and at least sees potential in committing to you, he is okay with giving clarity about what his intentions are. He is okay with giving some kind of structure and, again, title, whether that's we're exclusively dating, which, let me just say, I'm not really a fan of exclusive dating in the sense of, if we're mimicking a romantic committed relationship, why can't we just be in an official romantic committed relationship? But if we're exclusively dating in the sense of, okay, we're getting to know just each other and we're not engaging in boyfriend-girlfriend behavior, but we are engaging in building something together exclusively, that's a lot more acceptable. Anyways, he has no problem saying yes to that. He has no problem saying he wants that. And here's the thing, even a man who may not be ready to say it's official, he's gonna show a desire to limit outside influences, so to speak, all right? Like, I've tons of stories of men, they meet women, they really like her, they're serious about her, and let's say they met off a dating site. He has no problem now saying, let's get off the dating site together. Let's focus on us. Because again, he's serious here and he wants commitment. So he has a willingness to go there. And when you bring up conversations about commitment, you know, is that the goal here? When can we look forward to something like that? He's not going to run from that conversation. A lot of women become so afraid to ask questions about like, what are we doing here? What's your intentions? Where are we going with this? In fear of running the man away. You will not run a man away who is seeing you as genuine potential. It's plain and simple. The only reason a man would run if he was serious about you and want something, a real relationship with you, is if the way you came off turned him off. So if you came at him in a very attacking manner, with an attitude, condescending, just plain old negative, then that, yes, that can cause a man to be like, you know what, this is not what I'm signing up for. But if you discuss it in a calm, loving manner, just trying to gain clarity, he's not going to take an issue with that, because I say it all the time. The man who is serious about you wants to bring you clarity and peace, not confusion and chaos. So he will take that opportunity to ease your concerns and let you know what's going on here and what he desires. But let me add this one more piece before we move on to the next point. When it comes to specifically about being in an official relationship, again, I said he won't run from titles. I have seen scenarios where women will ask a man, what are we, right? And rather than him giving the woman a title, it's, well, don't you see I'm always with you? Don't you see, you know, we do this and that. Don't you see I paid for this? So he talks about it in a way that alludes to, of course, we're in an official relationship, but he still won't say it. That's a no. There's no reason why, if he is real, genuine about being with you, that he could not say it. Again, the man who wants to commit to you will not run from a title. He would not run from saying, you are my woman, my girlfriend, this is official, all those things. So him being vague and just pointing out what you should be examples of seriousness is not enough. He should be able to show it and to say it. All right, so now the second great sign he wants to be committed to you is that there will be consistent communication. Now, I feel the need to mention that. I think a lot of things I'm going to mention, some of you may say this should be obvious. This should be common sense. Well, remember, common sense ain't always so common. And the reality is that when we are emotionally invested and we desire something very strongly, it becomes very easy for us to start making excuses for people. It becomes very easy for us to overlook red flags. So a lot of what's being said, a lot of what I say in all my videos aren't things you don't know or never heard. it's things that you may need to be reminded of. It's bringing it back into focus for you so that you realize, wait a minute, I have been overlooking this glaring issue and I need to address it and determine if I can move forward with this individual, all right? So going to the point of consistent communication. Now, I will say this, I'm a little biased with me saying that I understand sometimes people are busy. and I'm saying this because I know I'm a busy guy, but you know, we always say people make time for what they really want, all right? And though I do believe that some individuals have less time to give, they will still carve out time for someone they're serious about, all right? And so I've yet to see a man who wants to, again, the key is he wants to commit to you. Not he wants to just hang with you. Not he wants to have sex with you. He wants to commit to you. When that level of desire is there, he is willing to make consistent communication. Not just willing, he will initiate communication as well. He wants to see you. He wants to talk to you. He wants to draw closer to you. So he will find ways to create those opportunities. But I also feel the need to mention that you've got to remember that it's not only on him, all right? Far too many times I see women with the mentality of, if he's serious, he should be calling me. He should be initiating with me. They'll say, or you know, something will happen and they'll come to me. I haven't heard from this man in 3 days. I'm done. And I'll ask them, but did you reach out to him in those 3 days? And the answer is no. And some of you may say, well, nah, why should I have to reach out? Because this is a two-way street. We're trying to build something together. And there's some situations where the man could be really into you, want to commit to you. However, if he's feeling like you're not giving the energy that he's giving, that you're not as interested in him as he is in you, then that can cause some men to pull back. Also, I have to mention this, and this is something that I plan on addressing more and more on my men's channel, is that unfortunately a lot of men are being taught some game playing, the same way some women are. So the same way women are being told, make him miss you and, ignore him for a couple of days and blah, blah, blah. Men are being told that too. And so what's happening is you have individuals who, even in being genuinely serious about someone, engage in these little tactics and games, hoping to gain back that person's attention. All right. So the man pulls away, not because he doesn't want to pursue you, but because he feels like he's coming across as thirsty and you're not, again, reciprocating. Now, this isn't to make excuses for the man doing that. That isn't in any way to say it's acceptable, because as I said, I'm going to talk more about to men, and as I do to you, that this is not the way for us to do things, all right? But I'm mentioning it for you to understand this is why you have to make sure you're doing your part. Now, when you can say you've been doing your part and this man pulls nonsense like that, that's different, all right? But if you have not done your part yet, you can't just put it all on him. This is also hitting my spirit because this was actually a discussion I had on my in my coaching program on one of my live Q&As, where one of the women had asked, I'm gonna try to make this a long story short. She's been living with her guy. He left the house. She's upset. She feels like you should never just leave. That's unacceptable. And his reason that he gave her for leaving was he's tired of the fighting. All right. And they need to work on things, but they can't work on things under the same roof. And she was trying to figure out how to handle this. And people were telling her, ignore him, give him the cold shoulder. And I'm like, no, we don't do that if we're trying to resolve things. But I had to bring to her attention, you can't just be mad at him for reacting that way if you can't acknowledge that you were engaging in negativity with him. If you were handling those conversations in a way that was creating arguments, then you have to acknowledge your side too, all right? We have to remember that if we want a successful relationship, it takes two people. Do your part and hold yourself accountable, hold them accountable, all right? And when you can say, I've been doing what I'm supposed to do, taking the right approach, and they're not matching you, now we know they need to go. But bottom line is, communication will be consistent when that man wants to commit to you. All right, so let's move things along. And the third sign The third great sign that a man wants to commit to you is that he will take a deeper interest in learning more about you. All right. So a lot of you have experienced men that you're dating that, and I want to highlight this kind of scenario where things may seem great. You guys may get along wonderfully. Okay. Lots of laughs and all that kind of stuff. But when you take a step back and you really look at the situation, you start to realize your conversations are very on the surface. Nothing goes deeper. He doesn't really share things about him. He's not really looking to learn things about you. And that right there has to be a sign to you that, of course, address it. Because as I always tell you, we address red flags first, and if they can't be corrected, then you let them go. We don't jump to conclusions. We just don't cut people off because there may be a valid explanation for this issue, all right? But it is indeed an issue because the man who wants to be with you wants to learn about you, will ask questions. And you notice I'm going to always tell you where you have to step up in certain areas. You have to show them that you're willing to have those conversations and be vulnerable. I say that because I've seen a lot of scenarios where men are trying hard, matter of fact, to really get to know this woman. And I'm even thinking of some married couples. You would think, well, if they're married, they know each other already. No. Some people got married and they still need a lot of work in getting in tune with each other and understanding each other. But the point is, the man is trying very hard, and it's the woman who does not want to open up. And sometimes, yes, it could be due to fears in the past of people using that information against you. It could be just this fear of vulnerability in general. There could be various reasons, but the bottom line is, if you don't engage when he's making that effort, he will stop making that effort. And unfortunately, he may stop making that effort, but he won't stop dealing with you. And now the relationship becomes more empty. All right. And he may put you in the box of, all right, you know what? I can't connect with this woman on a deeper level, but I may enjoy hanging with her. So I'll keep her here. But now that desire for commitment may go out the door. So you got to be mindful of that and understand the role you play. But pay very close attention to, is he trying to learn about you? And even if in some scenarios where it's not always about whether he asks questions, it's about you volunteering some information. But does he take an interest in actually hearing you out? You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you're trying to talk to this man about yourself and let him know how you're feeling and thinking, and he's just like ignoring it. That's a problem. That's not what happens when a guy is serious, when a guy wants to commit to you. So pay attention to that. All right, so now we're at number 4. And the fourth great sign a man wants to commit to you is that he is willing to invest his time and his money. Now, let me start with money because we talked a little bit about time and I'm going to add some more to it. But let's focus on money for a second. Now, when I say he's willing to invest money, I'm not saying he's going to be your sugar daddy, essentially, your ATM, all right, and just hand you all the money that you want and take you shopping and on lavish trips. Not every man has those resources, okay? However, even just going on dates and spending and paying for things, it shows a seriousness about you, about his interest in you, all right? Now, I understand, I can already hear some of y'all saying there's plenty of men who spend money and they're not trying to do anything but have fun, have sex or whatever. This is true. And this is why when you hear lists like this, you just don't take one thing. It's a combination. It should be all of these things, all right? If a man wants to commit to you, he's not just going to be the guy who gives you some time and some money, but then he doesn't want to learn more about you. Then that means he's not really serious about commitment. He's not going to, I'm losing my train of thought. Forget it. Let's just get back to the point. The point is you've got to see all these things to say, okay, it's real, rather than just taking one here, one there. But getting back to investing the money, you have to understand that time and money is a very precious thing to most men. There are some men out there who, maybe because they have tons of resources, may spend their money more freely, may be less concerned about how much they spend on a date, how much they give you, all these things. That's the lifestyle they live. But that's not the typical man. The typical man does not have money to just be throwing out frivolously. So for him to do that and give you his time is showing you that he's trying to invest in building something, all right? And he will have no problem doing that within his means. And I had to stress that because, again, I think sometimes unrealistic expectations are being placed on men who, it's not that they lack the desire or willingness, they're just not in that position yet. And you've got to be able to see the difference between someone who is willing to be generous with you, willing to make sure you're good, but again, maybe he doesn't have as much to give. And I always make the argument that the man who wants to commit to you, the man who's in love with you, all these different things, if he doesn't have the money to give, he will find other ways to pour into you. He will not just be there and take up space and be a burden. He will find ways to be an asset in your life because he cares about you. And the man's mentality is he wants to impress the woman that he's serious about. So naturally, he's going to find ways to put a smile on your face, to look good in your eyes. He wants to be that man that you look at and admire and revere in that way. So there will be the time, there will be the money. And again, as we talked about earlier, there will be the time because time is big for a lot of men as well. And so I think the key, though, with the time is you have to pay attention to, is it only on his time? Is it only at his convenience? The man who wants to commit to you is going to be more flexible for you. He's going to be willing to make some adjustments for you. Of course, there are some scenarios where adjustments are not possible. He just has no options there. But when he can, he will. And he won't just make excuses when you want to see him, but then when he wants to see you, he's going to, hold you to a certain standard. No, he's going to be more fair about it because he understands it's again, a two-way street. So pay close attention to that. But overall, he will definitely be willing to invest time and money. All right. So before I continue, I want to give you this quick, awesome opportunity where you can get your personal questions answered by me for free on my next live coaching call with my membership group, all right? All you need to do is go to asksteffanspeaks.com. You can click the link in the description or in the comments section. You'll get to the page, you'll submit your question, and you will have an opportunity to join in on the live coaching call and get your question answered. Again, go to asksteffanspeaks.com. All right, so let's keep this thing moving. And the fifth great sign he wants to be committed to you is that he will introduce you to his friends, family, and other people. So I need to start with the other people. We hear about friends and family all the time. We'll get into that, but let me start with other people. There are a lot of scenarios where men have introduced women to family and friends and still been on some game playing, all right? Sometimes the whole family was in on the game, all right? They know what he's about. And it's not that I want you to look at, to not see any value in the introduction, but I do want to acknowledge that that exists, right? And that's why I think a big piece of this is someone who wants to commit to you doesn't just stop at his circle. It's everybody. When you guys go out, he has no problem introducing you as his woman if you guys haven't made it official yet. He has no problem letting other women he's dated know that he's with you. If it's social media, granted, some people do not like to post their partner on social media. And I think that that's a discussion that two individuals need to have about how they feel about that and how important it might be to them. And I don't think there's a right or wrong because I think there's a great argument to be made on both sides. However, if he's someone that has shown willingness to post before and it hasn't expressed any flat out concern with that, then yeah, that's one thing he doesn't have a problem doing. Because again, the point is, whether it's in life, real life, social media, whatever, he's committed to you, so he has no problem who knows it. He has no problem shouting it from the rooftop because he is very serious here. So I think you've got to pay attention to, okay, because I've heard and seen scenarios where
he'll claim like this is my girl to his friends maybe, right? His close friends. Then y'all go out, meet a stranger. And he's like, oh yeah, he's my friend. So I'm sorry that I laughed. It's like, like he just completely looked over your actual tie that he gave you to everyone else, but to now these other people, especially if it's another woman, now he's switching it up. That's a bad sign, all right? So he's willing to introduce you to whoever, but yes, going back to friends and family, again, though there are men who have done it and weren't real, in most cases, we have to not make the mistake of taking what are minority situations and projecting them onto the majority. The majority of men are not trying to introduce a woman they're not serious about to their friends and family. The exception that comes to mind is if you are a celebrity, if you are this extravagantly gorgeous woman that gets so much attention that he just wants to show you off in that way, that can be it. But even then, the man can show pictures. he can show video. There's other ways he can accomplish that without introducing the family, because most men understand if I introduce this woman to my family, she will have higher expectations as well as my family. We have to understand it's not just women who have to go home to their parents' house getting asked when you're going to get a relationship, when you're getting married, when you're giving me some babies. Right? I had a guy the other day tell me that his father just the other day asked him if he's gay because he's still not in a relationship yet. All right. And they hasn't had kids yet. And he's like, Dad, like I want a woman. It just hasn't worked out yet. So men and women go through those pressures. And that's why a lot of men don't want to bring someone around who they're not going to be questioned about from their family all the time. And so it's safer to keep her away until they feel confident this is who I'm trying to be with, want to be with, or who I'm officially with now. So it is typically going to be a great sign. But as I said earlier, you never take one sign and run with it. Everything has to be there. Everything has to be there. All right, now the sixth great sign that he wants to be committed to you is that he's willing to open up to you, and even a stronger point to be made, he shares secrets with you. All right. So again, I think we can all acknowledge that tons of men struggle to open up. And for some men, it's just a matter of how comfortable they feel with that woman, if they have serious intentions with her. Because when a man's really into a woman, he wants to share more of himself with her. Now, I will acknowledge that there are still men who are very afraid. And again, there are men who are being taught that never to be vulnerable with a woman. I don't agree with that. I think vulnerability is needed to strengthen the relationship, as well as it's a great tool to see who you can share your life with. Because if I can't be vulnerable to you, how the hell are we going to have a healthy relationship? It's not going to work. And that applies to both sides. I've told you ladies in many videos that being vulnerable will help you weed out who's for real and who's not. But getting back to the men, because we know that men struggle, because we know that many men are hesitant to do so, when he actually does, that's a huge statement. That's big. You know what I'm saying? Because again, he's got to think highly of you or be comfortable enough to be willing to cross that line. And when we get into sharing secrets, unless he is just a gossipy dude that just likes to talk about everything to everybody, that's a different story. But other than that, he is confiding in you and trusting that you can hold on to this information. That says a lot. That says a whole lot. So again, a willingness to open up and I think that again, this is definitely one of those things that if you are seeing resistance in this area, don't just assume, don't just think negative, talk about it. And if you want vulnerability, you have to be vulnerable too. So not only is being vulnerable good as a tool to determine who is best for you and who isn't, it's also how you create that environment. It's like, listen, if we want more honesty in our relationships, we don't create that by lying. Doesn't work. You have to be more open and honest if you want them to be more open and honest. we have to pour into the relationship what we desire to get out of it in a lot of ways, all right? So be mindful of that, because sometimes you get so caught up in trying to evaluate his willingness to do certain things that you overlook that you are not doing the same. And it's important that you don't make that mistake. All right, so we got 3 more, and you know me, whenever these videos get a little longer than I planned, I gotta make the speed round for these last 3, all right? So the 7th reason why, 7th sign that he wants to be committed to you is that he is willing to listen to your feelings. So we kind of alluded to it earlier, so I don't have to give a whole rundown right now. But bottom line is he wants to hear you out. He's willing to hear you out because he cares about you. At the end of the day, the man who wants to commit to you is emotionally invested. And with that emotional investment, he is willing to talk and listen to you. Now, of course, you know I'm gonna say it. If you watched my videos before, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And what I'm talking about here is he's willing to listen, but if you're gonna come at him with negative energy, if you're gonna come at him with an attitude, if you're gonna come at him with a sharp tongue, that can cause a man to shut down. Men can be very sensitive and fragile when it comes to trying to have discussions about things and trying to be open with each other. You have to be careful in that way. Now, some of you are thinking, he's a grown man. Why do I have to watch what I say? Wouldn't you want him to be mindful of that too? You're a grown woman. Should he just talk to you any kind of way? No. So we have to own up or hold ourselves accountable for how we express ourselves to the people that we're trying to build relationships with or are in a relationship with. But all in all, he will be willing to hear you out and consider how you feel. All right, so now we're at number 8. And the 8th one is he plans you in, or he talks about his future with you in it. All right. So when he's talking about what he's planning to do later, he's considering you in that. He's considering this relationship. He is not leaving you out of the equation when he's processing these things and discussing them with you. When a man leaves you out, that tells you he's just considering you for right now, but not for later. All right. So this is something where you have to pay attention to how he speaks. Now, again, I do think that some men may not understand how they need to consider their partner if they're being serious. This is not to make an excuse. This is not a cop-out. I'm just saying I do come across a lot of men who just they have not been taught correctly in how to cultivate healthy relationships. And sometimes it's not about a lack of desire, it's a lack of understanding, all right? But the way that you figure that out real quick, if he's simply lacking desire or understanding, is you address it. That's it. Because once you let him know, hey, I notice whenever you talk about things, you never talk about us and what we should be doing and considering me. What's that about? And give him an opportunity to explain it. And that might be the conversation where you need to ask him, what is the future plan here? Where does he see you two 5 months from now, or whatever the case may be? Does he have some kind of desire for where he wants this to go? He should be able to express that. If he's looking to commit to you, he will be able to express that. All right, so the last 9th sign that he wants to commit to you is that he prays for you. So let me just start by saying this is one of those things that you may not always know, all right? But I still want to highlight it because I think that, I know the willingness to pray for someone is a very intimate thing. It's a very loving thing. And it says a lot. It says a lot. We don't pray about people we're not serious about, typically, at least not in this context, all right? And, you know, there are some people who pray for everybody and pray for anyone they're dealing with. But I think a man praying for you shows a very deep desire for you, a deep interest in your well-being, all right? And the additional beautiful thing is the willingness to include God in the process. Now, maybe that doesn't mean he's so connected, that, God is guiding him through everything that he does here. But it still shows something there that he's willing to go into prayer about you and for you. All right. Now, I talked about that from the aspect of you not knowing, but I think it gets even more powerful when you do know. And what I mean by that is when he may be praying even with you. All right. Now, I know this is not a very typical thing that happens, but it does happen. There are men who want to pray with that woman they're building something with. There are men who desire that level of deep spirituality in that relationship and understand that including that creates deeper intimacy and bonding with that woman. All right. So it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And it's something to definitely, the word I'm looking for here is to really appreciate and embrace and understand how serious this man is for him to take that kind of step with you. All right. And definitely always, regardless of whether he's praying for you or not, you came to this video trying to see these signs. Remember that no matter how many signs I give you, no matter how much information you take on or you watch on YouTube and it resonates with you, make sure you're praying. Make sure you're praying and connecting with God to help you determine if this man is for you. Because listen, again, sometimes our emotions get triggered when we see things we don't like, or we get blinded because we see something that we do like. And we allow that to guide us in our decision making rather than getting in tune with our spirits, talking to God, letting him tell us what it really is. All right. Not what we want it to be, not what we assumed it to be, what it actually is and how we need to proceed. And if you do that, but of course, yes, you can consider these signs as well. But if you focus more on the spiritual side, you will always win in the end.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. I know a lot of you feel like men are confusing as hell, all right? And I get it. I completely understand. And I think a lot of that happens because there are differences between